What's going on, everybody? So in today's episode, I'm going to show you guys how I disassemble, clean, and reassemble a Glock 26 Gen 4 model. Before we do that, I just want to say I'm not an expert, so if I use incorrect wording, terminology, or phrasing, just go easy on me. If there are better ways than what I'm doing, comment below and start that dialogue. Really, I just appreciate any constructive or positive feedback. So before we get into cleaning the tool, let me show you the equipment that I use to move forward. So I've got a cleaning rod. I've got a bore brush and an attachment here for patches. Patches right here. You can get brushes that are made specifically for firearms, but I like to use a soft bristle toothbrush. I got several Q-tips, patches as I mentioned, and a towel here. It's on my lap. So what else? I've got Hops number 9 lubricant and solvent. Really, they're pretty solid. I've used a bunch of products, and for me, these work the best when cleaning the firearm and keeping it well oiled afterwards. Finally, I've got a mat that I do all the work on top of. I clean the firearm, really, if you can notice, on a wooden table. So to make sure nothing gets ruined or that, the wife doesn't kill me, I put a mat down. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that the firearm is unloaded. You'll see that the magazine is out. Aim the firearm in a safe direction. I don't like pointing towards walls or anything, so for me, you never want a round to go into another room. So what I'll do here is pull the slide back and lock it, and visually check, looking down that barrel. With the firearm still aimed in a safe direction, pull the trigger. Now the firearm isn't loaded, so that's good. All right, so now we are ready to disassemble. All right, so with the firearm, again, pointed into a safe direction, pull that trigger. Now, after you've done that, you'll see that you've got these tabs on both sides of your Glock, right? Here you go. You want to pull them down. As you're doing that, you can see that all you got to do is just pull the slide down that rail. There we go. Now, pay attention to where the recoil spring and the barrel lay so that you can correctly reassemble this after you're done. All right, take them apart and put them to the side, right? So there are 4 parts that I'll be cleaning today. The barrel, the slide, recoil spring, and then the frame of the firearm. So we are going to start with the barrel. Now, taking the bore brush, what I do is, and grabbing the barrel, I go in from the back because I don't want to go from the front and cause any damage there. I go in and out about 10 times just to loosen up the dirt. Really just depending on how dirty it is, you'll start seeing like dust and dirt and debris start to come out. So let's examine. You'll start to see some of that dust come out as you're doing this. I just came back from the range, so we're gonna have to give it a little extra love today. All right. After that, I'm gonna take a patch with some solvent and run it through the barrel. So let's set up for that. Take a patch, and some hops number 9 cleaner solvent. You don't need a lot, so all right. Take a patch with some solvent. You don't need a lot again, so you'll want to wring some of this back into the bottle. There you go. All right. So after that, take the patch with some solvent and run it through the barrel. And you're going to start to see a lot of the dirt and grime coming off and onto your patch. This is breaking down all that dirt. You want to go in there circling around, and you'll see on your patch that dirt starting to pick up. Right? Okay. Now, while the solvent is breaking down the grime inside the barrel, I'm going to take another patch and start to clean the outside of the barrel. Again, wringing out any excess. You don't really need a lot. Hops is pretty solid. All right. So pay attention to the little detailed areas of the barrel, right? This might take some time depending on how dirty those areas are, but let's get to it. Looks really, really good. All right. Now after that, wipe the barrel down with your towel. I'm going to wipe this down, make sure all the solvent has come off. I'm sure it'll dry as we're moving along, but let's give it some help. All right, now let's go back to the inside of the barrel. What I want to do now is I'm going to start running some clean patches through the barrel, and I'm going to do this until the patches start to come out white. Looks really good in there. Yeah. Now, let's move on to the slide. Now, with a patch, I start to brush the inside of the slide. I want to get the rails, right? And I want to get the top of the slide here as well. So let's start doing that. I'll wrap a patch around my brush. And we're going to start going around the slide. And you'll start to see things that you're picking up, dirt and whatnot. Now, if you're the owner of a new Glock, you're probably going to end up seeing this sort of bronze finish in this area right here. That's actually from the Glock manufacturer, so you want to leave it there because it's lubricant. Be careful so that you don't remove that. So look, we took care of the rails, right? Brushed around the front. We want to leave this be, especially if it's a newer Glock. Let that lubricant stay there. But let's start cleaning the breech hole, which is right in here. I want to point this down so that whatever I brush, any debris doesn't go into the breech hole or the face. You want to start paying attention to like the little details, the detailed areas, get the smaller areas, and after that we are going to move to the recoil spring. All right, so using the toothbrush, I'm just going to start brushing the spring of any dust, any loose dirt, and so on. probably, I honestly should spend a lot more time here, but I mean, to be frank, I really don't. I think just a good brush will just do the trick. So, just any sort of debris, any dust, any dirt from the range, or from just everyday wear. You want to brush all of this to keep it nice and clean from any loose debris. And for that, just, wipe it down with the towel. After that, I go right into the cleaning the frame. Now, with the brush and the frame, really just start like brushing at it. Getting rid of anything loose, any dirt, and so on. I like getting inside of the frame as well because it might get dirt and dust from your magazines, or really just picking up, any ammunition off the ground and you put it into the magazine at the range and you put that back into the magazine. That can all pick up some dust and dirt, right? So I like to get into the bottom the frame all throughout and so on. After I'm done brushing it, what I like to do is I'll take a patch with some solvent and I'll start cleaning the high point metal areas. Don't use a lot of solvent really. Again, you just want maybe just enough to touch it, right? So let's just get rid of any excess solvent. That should be fine. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna go and use this to clean up just the high point metal areas and so on. And you'll see a little bit of dirt being picked up, right? If you're gonna take this step, I would recommend that you wipe this down afterwards with your towel. You don't want to leave any of that solvent there. You want to just get in, wipe these high point areas. And again, I just came back from the range, put a good amount of rounds through this, so it's picking up a lot of that action, a lot of that dirt and grime. Take a look at that. Let's take one more patch just to get anything excess, and of course I'm going to run a towel on this afterwards. There you go. Good amount of chuck coming off. And we are going to just wipe it down with a towel. Again, you want to get rid of all that excess solvent. You want to make sure it's dry for the lubrication that we're going to do next. All right, so let's start to lubricate, man. All right, so we cleaned all 4 parts of the firearm with the solvent, right? We wiped them all down with the towel. Now we need to go back and lubricate everything. You need to make sure you don't overdo anything with the lubricant. You don't want stuff to build up, right? So really a little bit of lube goes a long way. You just want the pieces to flow and operate smoothly. So, let's start off with just a few drops of lubrication on a clean patch and run it through the barrel. Let's take care of that now. So, put some there. There we go. Just run it through the barrel. Now, you'll probably get some dirt, which is fine. You're just trying to make this a well-oiled machine. Now, after you run a patch with lubricant, let's start taking clean patches and run it through just to pick up any excess hops lubrication that we may have left behind. So this is a clean patch. I'm going to run this through. And we're going to do this until, the patches come out clean again. And when we are confident that all the excess lubrication has been removed. Let's do one more. All right. Now, look through the barrel. It's really smooth, right? It's clean. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drop some lubrication on the outside of the barrel. Let's put some here, and that's it, right? Take a clean patch, and we're just going to start to wipe it down. We want to get the lubrication and hit up those detailed areas as well, right? Make sure the top of the barrel has lubricant. This is the part that rubs against the slide, and we're going to go into that next. Let's just wipe this down. Wipe my hands. And after this, we're going to move to the slide. All right, so let's start with the front. This is really where the barrel and the slide meets. Let's give you a visual of that, right? Remember, I wanted to put some lubrication on that top part of the barrel, right? Why? Because when it moves back and forth, this is where it mates. This is where it meets, right? So all that rubbing, all that friction needs some sort of lubrication so that it can operate and function very well. So you want to focus on the areas that touch the barrel and your frame. So basically that means your the rails, right? The front and the hole here. You'll probably still pick up some dirt. Again, that's fine. You're just putting a light coat everywhere. You don't want to get any lube in this area, right? That breech face, because you don't want to create any buildup there. So let's get to it. I'm gonna throw a drop in there. These are not clean. We're gonna take a clean patch and just get rid of the excess oil. We're going to leave a very light coat there. Nice. That looks good. Taking a Q-tip, I'm going to drop a little bit of lubrication on that. There we go. And now I'm going to hit up these rails. Nice and smooth. Again, nothing excess, and as I mentioned, you'll pick up some extra dirt, which is totally fine. Just want to put a light coating of this so that it moves back and forth on the rails. Another area that you want to focus on, the front hole here. Sees a lot of action, obviously. Pause. Let's get that nice and oiled. Right? All right, let's move to the frame. Now, with the frame, really all we're focusing on are the metal areas, right? The places where there's a lot of movement. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put just a drop of lubrication in those areas. Let's take a look at the back area, right? See that? I'm going to put a little drop back there where you'll see a spring. And it's fine if it goes down there. You want to just boom. Nice. That's done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit up where the slide frames are, right? Just so it can move nice and well back and forth. I'm racking the slide. Get it right in there. There we go. And then one more. And again, anything in excess, we just want to wipe it off, right? Wipe it loosely with the patch, just to get any extra lubrication off. After that, we are ready to reassemble. Now, before I reassemble, I like to do a test to check on certain things. Make sure that there's nothing inside the barrel. You know, with the slide, I want to test the firing pin by pulling the firing pin back and forth, make sure there's no problems, and make sure that it's not coming forward past the breech face. So let's do that. First is the barrel. I'm going to do a visual check on everything, make sure that there's nothing out of the ordinary, nothing's broken, or nothing seems to be, you know, damaged. Looking down the barrel, that is nice and smooth. There's nothing in there. All right. Let's take a look at the slide. I'm going to pull back the firing pin back and forth to make sure it's working. And it's doing well, and it's not protruding out of the breech face, right? All right. Let's do a safety. Let's push the safety down, and what you'll hear is the firing pin going back and forth. You hear that? There we go. Let's put it down so that the firing pin goes down. What I'm going to do is another test where I'm going to push the safety pin down and see if the firing pin will move forward. And it does. And it protrudes out of the breech face, which is good. I'm going to pull it back, push the safety back up, and again, make sure that the firing pin is not coming out of the breech face, all right? Okay, looks good. What else? All right, so barrel is taken care of, and now the slide is taken care of. Let's move on to the frame. Now with the frame, again, just a visual check, making sure the stop here works, right? It's nice and smooth, nothing is stopping it from falling back down. Sorry, I'm left-handed. I'm looking for just any cracks, any sort of out of the ordinary damage that my eye can notice. I don't see anything. Looks good. All right, now let's start to reassemble. All right, so now it's time to reassemble. What we're going to do is we're going to put the barrel back into the slide. And then from there, let's put the recoil spring back in. Now remember in the beginning I told you to make sure you have a good look at how it's set up so that you don't put it back in incorrectly. We're going to push it in. Nice. All right. And then from there, we're going to slide it back onto the frame. All right, so now the firearm is back to normal. So let's test everything out. Now, look, I know that the firearm is empty. Just out of good habit, let's check. Empty. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna check the trigger first. So don't put your finger on the entire trigger with the safety just yet. What I want you to do is put it on the outside and make sure it doesn't pull back, right? It's not pulling back. Perfect. Now, next, put your finger on the entire trigger, and pull. All good. One more time. All good. Now what we're going to do is test the reset. So put your hand on the trigger, facing in an area where you're able to shoot. Pull the trigger, keep it down, rock the slide, and listen for the reset. Slowly releasing your hand, but not fully. There you go. Pull the trigger again. Reset. One more time. I hear that. You want to do this at least 2 or 3 times just to make sure everything's all good. All good. All right. So look, that's pretty much it. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not an expert. So if I used any sort of terminology or phrasing incorrectly, let me know. If there's a better way of doing this, comment below. Hopefully this video will give you guys some sort of good tips on how to keep your Glock firearm operating well. So hit the subscribe button, like, share, peace.